Hello, folks. Welcome to part 8 of Musings from the Shop. Because silence is consent, and it's time to make some noise. Now, I promised a friend of mine that I would kind of tone it down a little bit on the swearing. But I might let a few words slip by, but apologies in advance if I do. Let's talk about a few things. I want to talk a little bit today about people who voted for Trump and are now regretting their vote. And I'm going to be referring to some notes here. So if I look down, that's why. Throughout social media and on the news, I see it on programs that I watch on MSNBC, where people who thought that Donald Trump was going to somehow be the savior of the country are now realizing that they've basically been lied to, and basically he played them like a fiddle. And they are now coming to regret their vote, but it's mostly because the policies that are now being instituted by Donald Trump and his administration are coming around to bite them. So let's look at a couple of them. The first one was a lady named Wendy, who calls herself MAGA Lady. She wrote, and this has been going all over Facebook. She said, "I voted for Trump to piss off liberals. It was really funny. I'm worried that I will lose my Medicaid now. I have type 2 diabetes with retinopathy." I think I said that right. "Basically, if I lose my health care, I won't be able to afford my meds. And if I can't take my meds, I will lose my vision. I am in tears. Please help me." This is just a classic example of F around and find out. I guess right now the best advice that I could probably give to Wendy MAGA Lady would be maybe she should start taking some classes and learning how to read Braille, and maybe even purchase a white cane with a red tip and start practicing walking around the house with it with her eyes closed, so she'll learn how to not bump into things. You know, I'm really not a mean person. And in a way, I do feel a certain amount of empathy toward Wendy MAGA Lady. I cannot imagine the terror that she must be feeling at the very real prospect that she may go blind because of her condition, because of her disease, if it goes untreated. For me, that would be the ultimate in horror. I pretty much live to come out here in this shop and play with these old machines that you see behind me and operate them and create things with them. And I cannot imagine not being able to do that or to see the things that I've built. I can only imagine the terror that she must be feeling. Another one. A Wisconsin man voted for Trump, was all for the crackdown on illegal immigrants, wanted them all sent back across the border. Let's get rid of them, build the wall. Well, now his wife is sitting in an ICE detention center. She had apparently overstayed her original visa, but she had applied for a green card, but that says it is still currently under review. She hasn't gotten it yet, so technically she was here in the country illegally. Last month, while returning home to Wisconsin, After honeymooning in Puerto Rico, an agent pulled the wife aside at an airport and asked her if she was an American citizen. She replied that she was not, that she was originally from Peru, and they took her away. And as his wife was being led away, this man, Bradley Bartell is his name, just stood there shaking and thinking, what the F do I do now? There are so many more. They had a focus group of Trump supporters. Again, this was in the Midwest. I think I think it was in Wisconsin as well. And these same people, up until a very short time ago, were cheering at the prospect of other people being negatively impacted by the policies of Donald Trump. But because those policies are now coming around and affecting them and their lives, well, all of a sudden they're having to rethink this. They're not so enthusiastic about what they have unleashed on the rest of the country. I have to ask, did these people really think that their white skin and their red hat was somehow going to immunize them from this virus that they have unleashed onto the rest of the country? Did they? Another example, the state of Nebraska, largely agricultural, is now facing some serious financial difficulties that could very well possibly lead to bankruptcy of the state within the next 6 months. And these difficulties are tied directly to a labor shortage in the agricultural sector. Now, that's not just people who work on the farms themselves. This is also people, immigrants, who work in the processing plants where the produce is taken from the farms and prepared for shipment to the stores. Most of this work is done by immigrants. I think that this problem is not going to be isolated to just Nebraska. I think that it is going to go throughout the whole breadbasket of our country, which is comprised of mostly red states. It's going to affect them all. And these same farmers, these same plant owners, these same people who were out there yelling and screaming and demonstrating and waving the Trump flag and yelling, build the wall, and ship them all out of here. Well, now, crap is now becoming very real for them. I can't help but think that the pain and the disruption and the fear that is now being felt by people in this country because of what Donald Trump and his administration are doing, I can't help but think that this is going to bring about what is known as a factory reset in our way of thinking as a people. But in order for that to happen, we as a people need to look deep within ourselves, and we need to ask some very hard questions. And one of those questions is, why? Why did they cheer when children were being forcibly separated from their families and put in cages under armed guard? Why? Why do they express such glee when today so many civil service workers in our government are now losing their jobs, losing their careers, mostly at a moment's notice, and they are having their lives completely turned upside down. Why? Why are they so giddy when they see our LGBT and Q brothers and sisters living in absolute terror of being persecuted and prosecuted for nothing more than who they are and who they love? Why? Why are they okay with these things happening to someone else? But when these hounds whom they have unleashed start coming back around and biting their ankles, well, suddenly they want somebody else to call them off. Folks, we need to hit the reset button. We need to do some very serious and more than likely even painful soul searching. We need to do that as a people. We need to remember the pain, the hurt that not only that others are feeling, but we ourselves are feeling. I've said it before in another episode of Musings in the Shop or from the Shop. I stated that sooner or later there will be another Donald Trump that is going to come along. And when that happens, we need to make sure that we never, ever make this mistake again. Folks, I want to thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe if you agree, and share it. This is how we get the word out. Until then, this has been another episode of Musings from the Shop. Y'all keep it between the ditches.